Welcome back, everybody. The last couple of days have been wild for Cardano. A ton of new news coming out in terms of the update to the Vasil Hardfork and what's going on there. We're going to dive into some of those recent updates here from Charles Hoskinson and then go into a little bit of chart and price analysis towards the end of the video. So let's hop right in by hearing from Charles Hoskinson on the explanation of what actually happened, and then we can get into the latest news around the update and around what's going on with the Vasil Hardfork. So let's hear from Charles himself.
135, we believed on our side, was going to be the node that we could hard fork from as a final series of tests. As we've always done, the testnet was hard forked. It existed. People started integrating with it. And then it was discovered that there was a critical issue in that node, the elliptic curve implementation. And that broke the testnet.
All right. And Charles explains it perfectly. And a lot of the reaction that we saw out of his explanation and out of what has come recently is this kind of negativity towards the breakdown of the testnet, right? Calling it a catastrophic breakdown. You know, a lot of these people on Twitter, YouTube, etc., are kind of calling this a terrible breakdown to the testnet. But when in reality, you know, Ethereum has had breakdowns to the testnet. Other things have happened to that extent on other blockchains, and they haven't come under this level of scrutiny. But what I do want to highlight is that this testnet bug was found and fixed. So there's still a lot of people out there talking about how the testnet or the mainnet are actually under duress or something's wrong. That is incorrect. So the testnet bug was found and fixed, and SPOs found their voice and showed some reluctance in upgrading to that designated 1353. But still more testing has to be done from this point, and that testnet bug was found and fixed. So definitely something to clear up there. I think that's one of the more recent tidbits that I wanted to catch you guys up on. The other aspect is now what happens to the Vasil Hardfork timeline, right? And so what's going to happen now, it's essentially imminent. There's nothing that's really going to stop it at this point. So Cardano's target is for 75% of the nodes to be on the Hardfork version to ensure network health. So this Vasil Hardfork upgrade is actually going to happen when SPOs, so the ones who are actually running these validators, 3,300 in total, the ones who run the network, when they vote with their nodes, that is when the Vasil Hardfork is going to come into effect for Cardano. So essentially what we want to see is this pie chart to become 75% in this red column right here, upgraded to the latest version for the Vasil Hardfork on Cardano. So that's essentially imminent. We're going to see this happen at some point. It really just depends on when this vote is going to be settled and when enough of these nodes and SPOs get over to that new version. But luckily that bug was fixed. And so now it's really just going to be a matter of time before those SPOs get to vote and actually get to basically launch the hard fork moving forward. Now, the other part that I want to tap into here that I think a lot of people are missing across this Cardano FUD and everything that's going on is that when this Vasil Hardfork takes place, we're going to see a lot of upgrades coming to the network. So things like borrowing and lending, stable coins, yield aggregators, music streaming, all these different things. And so the idea is that the network activity is going to explode with all of this additional value. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what the updates are on the back end of the hard fork and if this actually comes to fruition. But a lot of the thought is that once this actually goes through, there's going to be a lot of great upgrades to the value of the network and therefore bringing more users and more people into the Cardano ecosystem. And I think that's another big point when we're talking about the growth of Cardano, right? So the amount of Plutus scripts, so smart contracts that are being built that are, able to interact with the actual blockchain in terms of a smart contract, that has been growing steadily over the past year, and especially in the past few months we've seen kind of a trajectory past 3,000 total Plutus scripts, so total smart contracts being built on Cardano. And to add to somewhat of a visual of this, we're seeing more and more projects come to Cardano day after day after day. And really when, in the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about investing in a project and going with a project for years, a minor testnet bug that happens on all other types of blockchains, and for some reason this one got blown up, this is not something necessarily to weigh as heavy as maybe a lot of people are weighing it right now, especially considering how healthy the Cardano blockchain is right now. The other thing that I would note is Cardano has been running for almost 5 years with 0 outages, 0 reboots, and 0 shutdowns. Now, when we think about another popular blockchain, Solana, right, that comes to mind, they have outages and shutdowns, you know, once a month, once every couple months, and Cardano hasn't had one for 5 years. Thinking about how incredible that is, right? And I know you might say, hey, this is Reddit, you know, what's your source? But Fimbold was talking about this, you know, just about a year ago when Cardano passed 20 million transactions and they hadn't had an outage for 4 years. So this is something that they've been consistently able to achieve. And I think that's what some of this FUD is starting to kind of cloud out, is how successful Cardano's actually been in the long run. Now, finishing up looking at where we are in terms of the chart action, obviously, you know, this FUD about the testnet, about how it's catastrophic, about how the bug is going to stop the hard fork, you know, that's had quite a significant impact on the price action here. As you can see, when that kind of first broke, 17th, 18th, we saw a drop of about 24-25% in the price action. But what I will say is extremely bullish from the standpoint of the health of the chart is that we were able to safely and essentially perfectly bounce off of this, you know, 45 cent, 44 cent support line. So we've seen extremely strong indicators there that this has kind of been baked into the chart, and then it's solidly trading along that support line. So really great to see. Now, what we want to see in the coming weeks is obviously, you know, somewhat of a clean consolidation between, you know, where we last fell from. So about 56, 57 cents, and then in between that and 45 cents. So if we can kind of see this continued consolidation between this kind of 20%-ish range, which we've actually seen for essentially 2 months now, almost 3 months. And if we can continue that, you know, I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see what happens with the Vasil hard fork, how it's going to affect price action. We've seen it affect price action and other upgrades to Cardano. So I think it's really important to make sure that we're consolidating between this area once again, hopefully for the next couple weeks as the Vasil hard fork finally gets voted on. And then once we get that vote from the Vasil hard fork, we're going to see either a breakdown off of the support, or we're going to see a test up here around that 60 cent marker. So really now the main levels to watch are going to be 60 cents and then that 45 cent support marker. And again, really there's not necessarily much analysis to do on while we're waiting for the Vasil hard fork. It's really going to determine the next price movement for Cardano. So definitely something to focus on there. Again, 60 cents and 45 cents kind of tend to be our two short to midterm price levels that we want to watch. But that is the latest on Cardano. Hopefully you guys have been able to see through some of this FUD. You know, thinking long term, there's a lot to be said for the success of Cardano and how much the ecosystem has grown. But obviously FUD will always come out, and you know, there's not anything you can do about it sometimes. But hopefully this clears it up and you've gotten some fresh latest news on Cardano. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.